Hey guys, welcome to MarkTalk. I'm your host, Mark Levy, and I am unbelievably excited about today's episode. I've been waiting for this for a while. There's just a lot of really fun things happening with the show today, and you are here to join. If you're able to like this video wherever you're watching it, please like it, please share it. Subscribe if that's an option. As you're probably aware, we're now also on Twitch. You can see us on my Facebook, on YouTube, etc. What's most importantly is that you're here today to watch this awesome conversation. Just one I've wanted to have for a long time. As you might be aware, I am a Blockbuster nerd. I have my solo show, Blockbuster Guy, that was going to tour the nation and take it over this year. It's on pause. It's coming eventually, but right now, there's another bigger, exciting Blockbuster piece of content that just came out. That is coming out actually, unless you want to buy it early on Blu-ray, because it's available for sale on Blu-ray right now. Buy it through the Blockbuster, BenBlockbuster.com. But this movie is so unbelievably awesome. It warmed every inch of my soul while watching this. If you're a fan of the video store, and if you're a fan of Blockbuster, you're going to want to see this movie. With me today, I got the filmmakers behind The Last Blockbuster. As you see right here, look at that packaging. It's so cool. And also, when you buy it from the Bend website, they give you a nice little note. Mine was packed by Joshua. Thank you very much, Joshua. But without further ado, I want to bring them in. My guests today, Taylor Morden and Zeke Kamm. Hey, guys.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me. Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming here today. And it's always fun to talk Blockbuster with people that love Blockbuster a lot also. Probably more than me, honestly. First off, how did this movie start coming about?
Well, as you can imagine, let's see, it was late 2016, if you can kind of go back in time, but Blockbuster had been disappearing and had been, to my knowledge, gone. I moved back to Oregon from Washington, D.C., and as far as I knew, there were no Blockbusters. And I would drive around Bend, Oregon, where I live now, and see this sign, the big Blockbuster, the ticket with the word Blockbuster Video in it. And I would think, oh, that's cute. They couldn't afford to take the sign down. Somebody should get around to doing that. And probably, 5-6 times I drove by it thinking that same thing. And then one day, for whatever reason, it just occurred to me, I'll just pull over and pop my head in and see. I want to look in the abandoned Blockbuster, right? I want to see the rats and the drop box, and because I was a huge Blockbuster fan too, and had spent so much of my life renting movies there. And not only was it open, but it was like, stepping through a time warp. I walked in that door, and we have a clip in the movie of Doug Benson experiencing basically what I experienced that first time.
Such a great sequence of the movie.
Yeah, where you're just like, it's everything I remembered. It looks the same. It feels the same. It smells the same. And the only difference was this was, early 2017 at this point, and they had all the new movies, right? So they had the new Star Wars and the new Marvel movies, and that was very weird and disorienting to walk into a Blockbuster Video but see all the new releases. It was as if the world never told them that Blockbuster was gone, and they just kept right on going. And as a filmmaker, I was immediately like, wait a minute, what is going on here? We've got to figure this out. If nothing else, I want to know who is renting here in 2017, how is it still open, right? I had all these questions and talked to Sandy about, hey, would it be okay if I start bringing cameras here and maybe interview you and maybe, find out what's going on here? And she wasn't super into the idea, but she agreed. And then we started, and it kind of there were still 12 Blockbusters at that time. And so it wasn't urgent and exciting. And I was working on another movie at the time. So it kind of just went, not on hold, but I'm also doing the Blockbuster thing. And then when they started closing, I was like, this is going to be a really cool story, I think. I don't know if this one's going to last or whatever, but we should be filming it. And then that's when Zeke, I was over at Zeke's, we were just going to watch a movie. And I was like, man, this Blockbuster thing might be a thing. Would you want to turn this into a real movie and we can make a real movie out of it. And I don't think, Zeke, you knew exactly what you were signing up for at that point.
No.
But
I had taken like 3 days off in 470 something days. I just had a lot of film. I was making a lot of films for clients, and I blocked out a week, like 3 months in advance, because I was like, I need a break. And first night of the break, I said, hey, Taylor, why don't you come over and watch my favorite foreign film? He hadn't seen it, and he came over right as I was about to start it. He said, I have this idea for a film. And I was like, we're not watching this movie, and I'm not taking this week off. Let's do it. So
and that was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I always like to ask this question whenever I talk to someone that's like a big like fan of Blockbuster. Like, do you remember the first movie you rented from Blockbuster?
I do. I remember it was Revenge of the Nerds, and there was one other movie that I don't remember because the age I was at the time. I think I was 13. And this isn't to say that we didn't rent movies,
Right.
Family, we probably rented E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, stuff like that. But those were all from Hollywood Video because that was what was in the neighborhood.
Of course, yeah. The other
I remember renting Revenge of the Nerds and something else that my mom wanted to rent, but that was the first time I watched it over and over and over again, being like, okay, it's due back. Let's see, it's Thursday, so we have it until Saturday, so I can watch it like 4 more times. This is awesome.
The first one that I picked, like where I walked in and picked out a video, was Flash Gordon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine was Coneheads. Yeah.
What's
Mine was Coneheads. I was really, really young, and I was only able to rent like G or PG movies. And I remember it just came out. I was like, oh, sweet, that looks funny. So it wasn't, but so like it's just so fascinating. You're right. Like that, there's a Blockbuster, like the one that the last block, the subject of the movie is like stuck in a time capsule of like when I worked at Blockbuster in the mid-aughts. Like it feels like that, like how it just kind of stuck there. And like where I live in New York, there's not been like I moved to New York in 2009, and like by 2010 they were all gone. Which is so fascinating to me that like this Blockbuster is exactly like in a time capsule.
Yeah, the only difference is now, they have some of that memorabilia in there, and because of the press coverage, there's like newspaper articles up on the walls that talk about being the last one. But if you're just like in the comedy aisle, it is exactly the same.
Yeah. It's crazy. I brought my son in there. He was he would have been, I guess, 7 at the time, 8. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And because he wanted to know, like, what am I working on? And I took him in, and he'd never even seen a DVD before.
Wow.
So, I mean, I have DVDs, but they're in a drawer. I almost never take them out. So he hadn't seen one. And he went up. We went in the kids section, and he picked one up, and he turned it over, and he goes, there's stuff on the back. There's nothing on the back on Netflix. There's nothing on the back.
Right.
On Amazon Prime, there's nothing on the back.
It's just picture, some text, and then play. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, like I just love one of my favorite things about people that love Blockbuster, like which I'm sure you guys experienced as well making the movie, because you guys have so many amazing comedians in the movie, like Ron Funches, steals the show. And like Paul Scheer has like 2 very funny stories. One of them kind of happened to me when I worked at Blockbuster. The idea of like being a monster inside the Dropbox. Like it was like
several people that, I did that too.
Yeah.
It's so great. Yeah. How did you get like all those awesome like comedians like Kevin Smith involved?
We asked them very politely.
Yeah.
Some of them were like friends of friends of friends. So like for Kevin Smith, my good friend James Arnold Taylor, who's in the movie, he's a very, very famous voiceover actor.
Very good voiceover actor.
Yeah, when I lived in LA, we used to hang out all the time. He's one of my best friends. We went to Japan together. And so I called him up and I was like, I know you know this guy who knows Kevin Smith. Any chance we could get a little bit of an in? And it was the same with Jamie Kennedy. It was a friend of another friend. One of my good friends, I was in his wedding. His wife opens for Jamie Kennedy. So
oh, cool.
there were some of those, and then there were a lot of Taylor tracking these people down on social media and keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah. Keep pushing. Like some people, like Adam Brody turned us down, I think 3 times and didn't show up to the first filming, I think.
Oh, no.
That was someone else's fault.
Yeah, no, it wasn't his fault.
Someone else had told him the wrong information. Neither of us, but someone else told him the wrong information.
But it did take a couple of years of being like, look, I know you worked at Blockbuster. You've got to have stories. You've got to blah, blah, blah. And then one day, my wife and I were rewatching The OC. We had been big OC fans. And she made some comment like, God, he's the only good actor on this show. And then I emailed his manager that at like midnight that night. And I was like, are you sure he doesn't want to be in our movie? We really like him. And also my wife thinks he's good at acting. Anyways, flattery will get you everywhere because that's what finally got him to say yes to be in our little movie.
And we really, really wanted him because he worked at Blockbuster.
Right.
Yeah.
We started that first night when we sat down and you pitched the idea of a documentary about Blockbuster. We both said there's got to be a lot of successful actors and actresses that worked at Blockbuster. How do you find out? Like now you would be able to know because there would be a list somewhere online, but it was before that.
Yeah. Well, I think we made the list. We are the list.
Yeah. Now we have.
Yeah. I mean, like there were 9,000 stores. So like, of course, like people that love movies that would want to be actors would work there at least at one point in their life. Yeah. I mean, I worked there because I love movies. I'm an actor, you know? And it's like also like really cool, like people like Kevin Smith who didn't work at Blockbuster, but he did work at a video store that's very famous. And then like, yeah, it's just so cool stuff like that. And like Jamie Kennedy, who I forgot about those commercials that he got cast in.
He surprised us.
Yeah.
Because he's like the most famous person to like work in a video store in a movie. You know, like
that's why we wanted him. We didn't know about the Blockbuster commercials. He actually sprung that on us in the interview.
Yeah, we wanted him because he was in Scream.
Yeah. Right. I mean, like he's the movie guy. Yeah.
And we were trying to get him to commit and he was being like kind of on the fence. And so when the interview happened, I think Taylor, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think both of us were like, he doesn't seem like maybe he's into it, but it was a setup.
Yeah.
It was great.
Like, I remember like when you guys showed the commercial like in the movie, I remembered that commercial. I could have been more than like 10 years old when that commercial happened, but it's just like I remember like the megaphone and like the car and everything like that. It's just like this is incredible. It's so cool, like that type of stuff. Like what I love about this movie is like how much you poke fun at Blockbuster. You know what I mean? In the most loving way possible. Like
yeah, definitely from a place of love, but there's just so much to make fun of.
Right.
I mean, like you immediately talk about the whole Netflix thing, which I don't want to get too much into because I think it's a really interesting thing about the documentary about the fact that there's a lot more of the story than Blockbuster didn't buy Netflix. Right. Like the way you guys handle that game, the CFO of Blockbuster talk about it. The puppets are incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a puppet nerd.
Well, we were really lucky. Dave Felton, who operated the main characters, the Netflix puppet and the Blockbuster CEO puppet, he got us all the puppets. He just delivered. He was great.
Yeah, and that was super short notice too. I think we like asked him one week, hey, we want to shoot a puppet thing like in 4 days. Can we put that together? And he was just like, yeah, I think I can track down whatever 8 puppets. And
Yeah.
Can you find people to operate them? And it turns out we couldn't. Some people were operating 2 puppets, and it was the whole thing. But he really came through.
We were laying on the floor. So we borrowed the conference room from the Bend Business Bureau. Basically, they're called something else, but that's basically what they are. They help bring business to Bend. They're really cool people. And I called them up and I was like, "Can we use your conference room for free? Because we have no budget." And they were like, "Yeah, when you want to use it tomorrow." And we set up lights, and we had, I think it was 5 of us operating, or 4 of us operating puppets, and we're just on the floor under the table. You know, some of us with 2 hands, like propping boxes behind our back so our hands can be up high enough.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare for our backs, but a dream for our chiropractors.
And also just a really cool sequence of the movie.
I'm very, very happy with that sequence. Taylor, it was either that night or the next morning, probably at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Taylor probably had been up all night. We were so excited about it. He immediately went home and just cut a rough cut of the sequence. It was great.
It's so smart. Like I'm curious though, because like when you got the idea for this movie, did you just tell Sandy, "Hey, I want to start shooting around your Blockbuster," or?
Yeah, we had to ask Ken, who's in the movie, who's the owner.
Yes.
He was the boss. You know, we had to clear it with him, and he did not want to be in the movie. And he was like, "You just got to talk to Sandy. Sandy's, you know, the heart of this Blockbuster. She's the one. If there's any stories, she's got the stories." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I didn't know Sandy at the time, so I was like, "Oh man, we're not gonna get, you know, the owner. We're gonna, who's this manager person?" And then, you know, it's like, I think Jared says it in the movie, but as soon as you meet her, she treats you like family, and she's exactly as warm and caring and wonderful as she comes across in the movie. So it's been just a total joy to get to spend the last 3.5, 4 years working with her. I feel like I finally got to work at Blockbuster. I always wanted to and never did. Yeah. So it's just, she's been great, and she's always been willing to, you know, like when she would get news that, oh my God, you know, the Ellen Show is coming or the New York Times is coming, she would call us first, and we would have our camera bags packed and we'd run down to the store because she got it. She knew what we were trying to do, and she was really, really helpful the whole way through.
Like when Ron Howard showed up to take a selfie outside the store, she didn't find out until after he was gone. And she called us like, "I'm so sorry." We're like, "It's not your fault. You come down here."
Yeah.
We should have just lived there.
Yeah. In hindsight.
Not too late. It's true, Sandy. I feel like my new best friend in the world is Sandy, and she remembers my name. So
that's great. I mean, like, it's so cool because like one of my favorite things about that store, I mean, I've never been there. Like, that is a dream of mine. Like, actually, like, after watching the movie, I'm like, I should just rent a car and just drive across the country right now. Just go there. I'm like, that's a 45-hour drive.
It's worth it.
Through a lot of boring, because like literally through like Montana, like Idaho, I'd have to drive. But like I'm I'll wait till after the pandemic's over. But like the fact there's like an Airbnb there now, which is that still operating, or was that just a I figured
that was a promotional thing.
That's what I thought, yeah. But like it's just so cool, like what like the way like as funny as the movie is, there's just so much heart in it. Like the first real introduction of Sandy is when she's buying DVDs at like a Target to like make sure that she has the newest releases. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, like the fact
she's still doing that in the COVID times. She's still every Tuesday she's out getting the new releases. You know, the only movie, all the distributors have stopped. You know, they slowly one by one, they either stop making DVDs or they stop sending them out. So the last movie, the only one I think that she didn't have to go buy was our movie, because I had to go drop a box off at Blockbuster.
Oh wow. It's just like it's so insane because I just talk about how that store was originally a mom and pop store, a family store. And then it became a Blockbuster because Blockbuster was becoming so big and how they were opening stores every 17 hours at one point, which is an insane statistic to me. And then now this Blockbuster, is the last one, and it's a mom and pop store the way it's being treated, while being known as a Blockbuster.
Right. That was a big hook for us at the beginning. Like, I don't know if we would have wanted to make the movie if they had been a corporate store all along. Like, that's not a good story.
Yeah. It wouldn't have appealed to me.
Yeah. So the fact that they were, this underdog and they kind of got bullied into becoming a Blockbuster, and now they get to have the last laugh kind of is, if you were to sit down and write a movie, like a narrative movie about a Blockbuster that ended up being the last one, like The Little Engine That Could, this would be the story. It's just, it's very lucky that that's how it went down.
And like, it's so fascinating because like every few minutes of the movie for a little while, like the first half of the movie, you see like the countdown of like 12 Blockbusters, 4 Blockbusters and stuff like that. And watching like the part, like what was your mindset while filming the documentary and seeing that number, finding out that number was getting lower and lower? Like, were you scared for Sandy's store?
Oh yeah,
for sure. I think the first big cut was when the Alaska stores went. Like from when we started to the first time there was like a chunk gone was the Alaska stores. And we knew it was going to happen eventually because Ken was telling us, the owner of the Alaska stores has been talking to me, it's probably not going to last very long. So we knew it was probably coming pretty soon, but we were thinking, I think 6 months to a year or something. And we were looking up flights to Alaska so we could go film them before they went out. And we had do you remember I can't remember his name, the Alaska store guy.
Alan Payne.
Yeah. So he's in the film and he came to town to see Ken and see the store. And we interviewed him. And right before we started the interview, he's like, "Hey guys, just so you know, that's it.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow at 8 a.m. And we're like, "What? Oh no."
Wow.
So and then when that happened, it started to get like, well, how are we going to be able to make this movie before this store closes?
Yeah.
Taylor kept saying, my dream is that we finish the movie in time that the film's for rent at the Last Blockbuster before they go out of business. We made it.
We did it, but we didn't expect COVID.
Also want to point out our mutual friend Chris Shipman says hi.
I just talked to Chris yesterday.
He's a great dude. He helped, he's been a supporter of Blockbuster Guy, and you guys also. Like, I remember he's the one that told me about the documentary, and I was just like, this sounds really awesome, and I'm like, it's just so cool. I just hate being like it's so cool. It's such a weird thing to say.
We don't mind.
It's one of those movies where like the use of Lauren Lapkus is so cool, and because at first you don't realize it's Lauren Lapkus. And it's got this weird kind of like kind of an I love the 90s vibe to it, but like in like a really good, sweet way of like, hey, I bet you didn't know this. Like, I loved it. Like, how'd you get her involved in the movie?
That was Doug Benson's idea. We were trying to think of who would be, we wanted that upbeat, like happy, tone, like exactly what you're describing. And we were like, I don't know, who would be good? And Doug was like, you got to get Lauren. She's it. And she was so nice and so happy to do it. And then I think yesterday she was on the IMDb top 10 up and coming stars list.
I saw that.
This was before that her Netflix movie came out and all that. And we knew her as like, oh, she's the funny one from all the things.
Jurassic World. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. But she's kind of blown up. And also in the podcast world, I listen to a lot of podcasts, like How Did This Get Made? The Paul Scheer one, and Doug Loves Movies. Yeah. And that's kind of how I knew, like for Sam Levine, that he was a big movie fan, is because he's always on Doug's podcast. And she has a couple of great movie podcasts. So it was a great fit. She's like one of that circle, Ron Funches, Brian Posehn, Doug Benson, they're all, kind of my favorite type of comedian.
Yes.
Like the indie, cool, funny, nerdy comedy people. That's like, those are my people. That's who we wanted all along.
we knew from the beginning we wanted to make a funny film, a lighthearted, funny. If you ever saw Taylor's last movie, Pick It Up, about ska, it hurt my face. I just smiled and laughed so much. It's such a great movie. Stop. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And there's some sad. It could have been sad. It could have been business heavy, and we certainly talked about the business of it, but we tried to do it in a funny way. So we knew we wanted comedians in it, and just people that would make it fun and happy and nostalgic, instead of like what everyone did everything wrong or we talk about the mistakes, but we talk about it in a lighthearted, fun. We wanted this movie to make people smile. Feel good.
And it sounds like a lot of the mistakes are out of people's control, because when we talk, I don't want to ruin like why Blockbuster really went out of business, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah. And if you're going to get like whatever the sum total is in our movie, a 10, 15 minute business lesson on what not to do, you want to get it from someone like Lauren Lapkus, I think. It's a lot more fun.
All my lessons. She's so nice. We were on Zoom with her while she recorded it, because obviously we couldn't fly down because of the pandemic to direct her, and she just was like nailing stuff, and then she kept saying, "Well, let me do it again," and we're like, "That was perfect." She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it again." All right. Yeah, there was only one line that there was a problem with. It was like a million takes, and that's because we said we want you to sound mean for this one, and she couldn't do it. She couldn't sound mean. She's just so happy and like such a nice person. Eventually, of course, she got it. She's super talented. Yeah. But she's like, "Really? You want me to sound mean?" And I'm like, "Yeah, pretend this person ran over your dog or something." It was great. I wish I could direct her every day, or just even bring her water. I just would love to work with her. She's such an incredibly nice person.
Yeah,
that's great. I was curious because I know you guys had a very, very unfortunately small theatrical release where you guys like pop-up screenings. And you did one at the Blockbuster, right? Or near, or
we were supposed to, but it was going to be in the parking lot, and then at that exact time, you weren't even allowed to have outside gatherings.
Right.
So
now
what was
the drive-in theater here, which was put on by the Bend Film Festival? We did a few screenings. That was our world premiere was at the drive-in, which is also surreal as like someone who went to drive-ins as a kid. I never in a million years thought, in 2020, I'm going to make a movie. It's going to be available to rent at Blockbuster, and it's going to premiere at a drive-in theater, and and then it's going to come out on VHS. I would have been like, that's insane, right? That's the craziest story. And the pandemic sucks and it's awful, and we would have loved to do theaters, but we wouldn't have these crazy stories, without it.
Yeah.
So.
But we won Best Film at SF Doc Fest, which is a huge doc fest.
A huge one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it felt so awesome to hear that we won. And then I shouldn't have. I should have just been grateful. But I immediately felt sad that we weren't there.
Yeah.
I was bummed we weren't there in the first place, but then when we won, it almost made it worse.
Right.
No. But, it is what it is. Lots of people have had worse things happen than winning an award that they couldn't go to.
Right. Yeah, it would have been great.
I mean, you can still definitely, it was like cool year-end awards are going to happen like in the spring once things get a little bit better. I heard I'm out put it out there. Like, I mean, the Oscars are happening next year in person, apparently. That's what I mean. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's that thing of like award festivals are going to like festival awards are going to happen for this film, more awards because it's an amazing film. And with hopeful luck, then you'll be able to go in person.
Yeah. Send good vibes out there that we win an Oscar.
Yeah. I would love that.
And then we can get vaccines first so that we can go get it.
Yeah.
Supposedly in 10 days they start going out. And the movie comes out in 13 days on VOD, which is This thing is gonna be big on VOD. Like I have a lot of friends that knew about this documentary without me telling them about it.
Oh, awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's the perfect rental movie. Like it's a movie about renting movies, and you know, everybody's stuck at home now and they can just rent it with the button, and it's perfect in that way. You know,
it proves that we're living in a simulation.
Yes.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. Like, how did you get Lunch Meat involved to make the VHS copies? Because Lunch Meat's awesome, and like, if it is like how you guys said it's going to be, how it's going to look like the actual Blockbuster VHS case.
Yeah, that was through our Instagram. You know, we're pretty active trying to follow other accounts that are similar, like Lunch Meat and like any like nostalgia accounts or VHS accounts. Eventually you like enough of each other's posts that you start talking. And I forget, I don't know if they reached out to us or we reached out to them, but it was very like immediately seemed like a perfect fit. Like, oh, you guys put out current movies on VHS. We're making a current movie about VHS. It's like a no-brainer. So
that's so cool. What was your favorite day in production? Like, I mean, I can't imagine this documentary would be like a heavy one to shoot at all. But like, what was like your favorite day or interview?
Lauren Lapkus was a pretty awesome day. That was really cool. Although getting to meet Ione Skye in person, like, a little lightheaded. She's still as beautiful as I remembered her from when I had a crush on her when she was in those old movies everyone remembers. And she was super nice and like down to earth. That was pretty awesome. Meeting Doug Benson. Maybe when Doug Benson came to the store.
That was a really cool day.
It's a great 5 minutes of the movie when he's in the store, like just getting his membership card and taking a photo of the big stick and all that stuff.
That dude flew himself up because he knew we didn't have the budget. How awesome is that? What a good guy.
That's great. Oh, man.
For me, it's got to be the Kevin Smith day. Just as a person of that age, Clerks was a huge influence on me, and Mallrats, and kind of he's always been one of those filmmakers that's super open, with the DVD commentary and like, this is how I made this on my credit cards. And then the studios came in and Mallrats didn't make any money and blah, 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 blah. But like watching his making of featurettes and stuff as a teenager is like kind of what sparked the idea that, oh, you can just make a movie if you want to, if you try hard enough. And so he's always been like a filmmaking, like a hero, but like an attainable level of like, oh, regular people can do this. It's not just Spielberg and Scorsese. It's like people who want to just tell dick jokes can just tell dick jokes. And that's a thing that people could do. And so, meeting him and getting to do that shoot. And it's not just like, I've made a few movies now and they're all like the ska movie and the Blockbuster movie. It's stuff that I love. I love movies. I love music. Yeah. And these people are people I've really looked up to for a really long time. And I have to like pinch myself and think, not only am I working with them professionally, like we're making something together that's going to be hopefully great, but also like you don't just meet your heroes. You get to sit down and talk with them about the reason that they're your hero, right? Exactly. Like talking to famous musicians about music and then filmmakers about films. Like that's what a lucky job I have, like that's crazy when I think about it.
That's incredible. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up about the film or anything? Because like I could gush about Blockbuster all day personally.
I think when we started out, we both were like, our main goals were we wanted to be fun to watch, funny, make people feel good. And we wanted to be more than just a documentary. We really want to figure out what's the story. Let's have tension and character arcs and story arc, and let's really work hard to make this more than just an informational documentary, and based on the reviews and our opinion after seeing it, I really think that we pulled it off, and I'm super proud, and I'm grateful that I didn't get to take that week off, and that Taylor asked me to journey.
Same. Yeah, it's been a very, very long process to get to this point, and obviously 2020 is crazy and is not at all how we imagined it, but we're really, really excited to have the movie coming out on the 15th and to have people, be able to see it. It's around the holidays, maybe families can watch it, and people, I just hope that the feeling comes across the way that it has, for you, Mark, and for a lot of people so far, of like, there are still good things in the world, and it's okay to be happy for an hour and a half and laugh and have a good time. And if our movie does that, then we've succeeded.
For sure.
Totally.
And if people have the trailer, check out the trailer. It'll really give you a good idea of what you're going to feel and get from the whole movie.
And the trailer's been great on iTunes too. Like that was number 2 yesterday, I think. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. And also, like, you can buy a physical copy, like I've got right here, and you can do that from benblockbuster.com. It's so cool. Like I love like how the DVDs like look exactly like the DVDs we get like when it's a Blockbuster made DVD. Also, like, there's a lot of really cool things on there, like merch. Like the after my play, my director bought me a shot glass. For the Blockbuster, and it's like, hell yeah.
Nice. Was it a silly pine shot?
It's the blue rubbery one.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. I never had a rubber pint glass before. It's like awesome. You can buy, so the movie comes out on VOD in the 15th. It'll be on Amazon, Apple TV, Google Play, Vudu, and so many different ways. Pretty much every way you can see a movie streaming is now. There.
Every service picked it up. That doesn't happen very often with an independent film. They all were really excited about it, so it's awesome.
And you guys can be followed at Last Block Doc on Twitter and Last Blockbuster Movie on Instagram and Facebook. Give them a follow, guys. Like, honestly, this is like this movie. If you're a fan of the video store, if you're a fan of really amazing stories, like, we didn't go that deep into the Sandy Harding because she is incredible. Like, the part when she is like talking about using how like the computers are dead, and she has like 8 computers in the back for parts, and just like, you are a godsend. You are the reason this Blockbuster still works, and it's just incredible. Like, it's just so cool, everything about the story. It's like truly the best mom and pop store out there.
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best Blockbuster mom, and I hope everybody in the whole world that sees this movie just falls in love with her like we did, because she deserves it. She's really awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and thank you guys for watching, and thank you Taylor and Zeke for being here. This really means a lot to me from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Big Blockbuster nerd. It's just this movie warms my heart fully. So yeah, and I will see you guys on Friday with our live Brent Steele episode, and thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.